What it is. How's it going? Hope you're having a marvelous day. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about you know, open enrollment period is an interesting period. Hopefully everybody's done watching Super Bowl or whatever. I think it's over now. I don't know. Um, yeah, hopefully those that watched it had a good time. I, for one, was taking a nap for most of it, and so that was a good thing. But I wanted to jump on. I'm going to try to do this periodically. And honestly, after my kids go to bed at night or first thing in the morning is the best time for me to do this. And so I apologize for those of you on the East Coast because it's 10:33 out there. However, it's worth the time, energy, and effort. I promise to bring value when I'm doing this. And so I'm not just going to jump on and doidle around, but I want to talk about three actions to take. Like tomorrow's Monday. Tomorrow is a day to start momentum or keep momentum. There's two things: either starting momentum or keeping momentum. And I think of it like riding a bike uphill. It's far more easier to keep momentum than it is to start momentum, especially if you're going uphill. And that's how it can feel in this business. If you don't have momentum, is like riding a bike uphill. And for most people, if you ever watch people, anybody ever watch somebody ride a bike uphill, most people, what they do when they're in that situation is they get off the bike and walk the bike up the hill, which is terribly stupid when it comes to momentum. Yeah, it's easier. It takes longer, slows you down, and there's no way to get momentum if you get off the bike. Okay. So the first step in keeping and gaining momentum for open enrollment period is understanding, do I have momentum or am I building momentum? So I'm going to start with those that are building momentum because that's by far, in my experience, the much larger group of folks is folks that are starting momentum. And so if I'm starting momentum from scratch, I would first start and take account of what do I have? Do I have a client base? Do I have any referral partnerships? Do I have any type of momentum building resources? And the reality is, momentum building resources would be things like a book of business. So if I have a book of business, I would build momentum by starting out with connecting with everyone. What you want to do when you connect with everyone is start off with how are you? How you been? What are things that are going on? Just a general check in to either reaffirm, reestablish, or continue the relationship that you're supposed to be building. And so, if you have a client base and you don't have relationships with them, and you only had transactions, and you have to be honest with yourself. Am I a transactional agent? If you're a transactional agent, you have to start with the relationship. And to start the relationship, see anything else, just ask questions. How are you? What have you been up to? How is the cat? How are the grandkids? How is whatever? Step into the relationship with a relationship building question. And the purpose of this, why would I do this in OEP? Oh my gosh, why? Well, number one, you don't want to lose your client to someone else. And if there's a period of time, any of your clients who do, whether they have Medicare Advantage or not, this is a period of time where some can make a change. And people don't always make a change just because they can. However, some of them don't know that they could make a change. Others are being relentlessly pounded. And if you didn't know, if your client has a Medicare.gov account, then they are certainly, at the very minimum, being told that they could and should potentially make a change by the government themselves. Medicare.gov is going to be sending out emails to your clients saying, hey, you guys, the verbiage isn't you could make a change. Like if you've never read one of those emails, I encourage you to find out. Talk to one of your clients, your mom, your dad, whoever your client is, that would let you see the communications that a person gets when they have a Medicare.gov account. And that's the only thing you need to do to sign up to receive that information is to have a Medicare.gov account. And so the number one thing that you could do to your current client base is reach out, find out how they're doing, and ask them, do you have a Medicare.gov account? And I like to be the one who always is the educator and the one who tells them about things like Medicare.gov. That way I can explain the context. That way I can be aware of what is it exactly the communications that they're going to receive. What communications do they receive for from the carrier? What communications do they receive from Medicare? What communications are they receiving from other entities, other agents? What ads are they seeing? What does their timeline look like on Facebook? Like, you have to understand the average, like my father-in-law got hacked with this email over the weekend. And it's a very disruptive, shocking experience for someone who doesn't really understand the game, right? So that's part of the education process to affirm and establish your relationship. But if you want more referrals, provide more value. It's very simple. If you want to make cross sells of hospital indemnity, number one, you got to talk about hospital indemnity over and over again. Go on an educational campaign of what is hospital indemnity. Don't just push it on people. Don't just say this is what people do. Don't just assume through I've seen lots of tactics in my career. Some more genius than others. There's the good, better, best theory, right? Where you start to offer 3 different levels of coverage. And in those 3 different levels of coverage, you offer a base model and a more advanced model. Yes, this is no different than the small, medium, and large model that a McDonald's and every other restaurant you've ever been to runs. Okay. And they price things accordingly. And you can manipulate people through sales tactics like that to choose certain packages and products and things like that. That's what the whole small, medium, large packaging mantra achieves. That's the whole goal of the achievement, is to help people get through the purchasing process. Because when we're buying something, that's what we're doing. If you're in insurance, you're in sales on some level. The purchase process involves a difficult process for the average person. Is how do they assess value? How do they assess need? Because in insurance, everybody wants Goldilocks. Nobody wants to be insurance rich. Nobody wants to be insurance poor. And it's that combination of things that's going to create leverage for yourself. And so when I'm looking at how am I going to build value into the client, education first. So educate on what are the holes? What are the positives? What are the negatives of whatever policy the person has? Start there with a baseline. But first, before you dig into that side of it, if you don't have the relationship side of it building, you have nothing really. And a good agent could come along, even if you have 2 or 3 or 4 policies tethered to the client. If you have a package based upon the principle of maximizing revenue and maximizing sales and all these other things and tactics, which are fantastic or whatever, it's easy for someone who's really educating and really providing value to come along and say that package is terrible. Why would somebody put that together? I'll give an example. A few weeks ago, I ran into lovely 2 people at their table who got my name from someone else. Again, referrals are the lifeblood of what I do. And I sit down, and to give credit, the other agent who'd sat down with them during AEP did sell them a hospital indemnity policy. However, the one of them I looked at, it was only hospital indemnity for hospitalization portion only. And for those of you who aren't selling hospital indemnity frequently, there's hospitalization, there's surgery, there's the emergency room, there's ambulance, there's skilled nursing, there's physical therapy. Like the base 6 are the areas that you should be looking at filling. And so the idea of a policy, and again, is not to be insurance rich nor insurance poor. And that transition is important for you to have longevity in the relationship. Because if somebody comes along and educates the person that you have pushed product onto without proper education, they have an opportunity to educate and steal the entire client process along with all the policies if you've done anything outside of what's right. Okay. And so I'm all for the package. I'm all for presentation of good, better, best, etc., because it's better than nothing. However, the important part is the relationship's what drives the whole thing. And so the level of trust they have, the level of credibility that you're going to have is probably the first thing that I would recommend for OEP. If you're building momentum, focus on the relationship with those you already have a relationship, nurture the relationship, educate. So research, educate, add value, provide the solution. You reap what you sow, right? And so when we're talking about the research aspect, far too often agents can mistake the research portion as simply sending a brochure or sending an email. That's not how people learn. Like, how many agents have bad experiences with their upline because they get handed an agent guide and are told to get out there and get them, big guy or gal, go get them. Right? That's the same concept that most agents use when it comes to educating them on a product. The brochure is not the education. You're the educator. Your job is to break down complex topics and turn them into simple, digestible concepts that people can understand. And the easiest thing to do is an analogy, right? And so, number one tip I have, if you want to crush OEP and get momentum going, is nurture the relationships you already have. And if you don't have relationships yet, AKA you haven't been working towards nurturing a relationship, start with that. Just start with nurturing a relationship. Don't worry about the education. You have 60 days, not quite. You have almost 2 months before the end of open enrollment period and the opportunity to get referrals. And what you want to do is get referrals for people that have points of pain. Points of pain are easy to find this time of year. Prescription drugs right now, if you haven't paid attention, it's the number one potential point of pain because for the dual market, a lot of those folks last year were paying zero premium and zero copay for their meds, and things have changed. So the low income subsidy level of qualification is driving the train on what the client qualifies for as far as their cost sharing with medications. And some of these folks have gotten used to using retail pharmacies to get zero cost medications. And the reality is, most of these plans, especially if they're Medicare Advantage, which if you're dealing with people on low income subsidy and or Medicare, Medicaid, I mean, that's almost, most of them are on one of those on an Advantage plan. And you have to understand there's a point of pain out there that you could easily be fishing for if you went to the right places to plant the seed that when the point of pain occurs, that you're the person that can solve that problem. And so for someone who's on Medicare, Medicaid, they don't understand that there's been a systemic change across the board for all plans and all people that have low income subsidy. And they're going to assume, I know this because I've talked to a bunch of my clients, just like recommending to you, they're going to assume that it's their insurance company causing the problem. Because this population of folks has been pounded so much by this industry that most of them have turned into plan shoppers, plan changers. And their first reaction to a point of pain typically is changing plans. Now, here's the opportunity. That's the opportunity for a lot of you. They're wondering, what am I going to do for apps right now? Plant the seed that you are the point of pain solver. But instead of changing plans simply being the solution, you want to be the person that's there rather than them calling the next commercial, rather than them calling the next ad they see on Facebook or whatever they're scrolling, or the illegal phone calls that they're receiving. By the people that are then turning around and selling that to you as a live transfer. Like, that makes me laugh so much. People that I've done them. So I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with myself because those are easy to look at and think, oh, how lazy can I be if I could just sit here and have people show up on my phone all day long that I could help. Like, how cool would that be? The reality is they're just folks that have been conditioned and trained to change plans. And you could easily take control of that entire envelope if you just become the person that always helps them change, and only when necessary. So when should someone change? Like, by now it's too late. And the only reason you should be talking to someone during OEP is either got lazy and didn't do the actual work during AEP, someone didn't call you back or didn't reach out to you, or you're something along those lines. And so our ability to create the relationship this week, so this is an opportunity for you to get out there. What am I going to do this week? If your calendar is empty, like I spent a lot of time last week with a few of my agents, and we just spent time digging into their, like, let me see your calendar. Like, I'd love to do calendar audits because there's a lot of people out there that think they're busy. And then you look at their calendar and they've got like a daily training that they join. And it's like, okay, so let's talk about this training you're spending an hour a day doing. What is it? How's your production? Is your production increasing because of that training? Are you getting momentum because of all this training that you like? Are you overtrained with no activity? Like, if you're not taking action on the training itself, you're either getting bad training, you're not understanding how to implement it, or you're really not understanding how to time block your calendar. That's step one. If you want to be productive in OEP, look at your calendar. If it's not completely full of money-making productive activities, start there. And one of the most productive money-making activities you have is nurturing the relationships with the people you already have. So if you already have clients base, if you already have people in place, that's where I would start. If you don't, revert to whatever network of folks. Like, anyone who's ever joined any major sales organization, whether it's the hot 100, 200, 300, or whatever the hell it is, there is an aspect of network marketing and insurance that most people miss, but that's the play for everybody. Your warm market is your market if you have no client base. So start with your warm market. Start with your mama, your dad, your uncle, your aunts, your cousins. Just work your way from the inner circle, the people you have the strongest relationship, and just work out in a ring. Same thing. You should be start off with a 5-mile radius of your house. Most of you are working out of your house. That my experience. If you have an office, start with a 5-mile radius in your office. You should own that whole turf. Every church, every bingo parlor, every breakfast place, every doctor's office, every specialist, every entity that has access to the people that you want to help should know who you are and what you do. And so you start with an educational. Again, you're trying to pick up a theme here. Research first, educate second, add value third, provide solutions fourth. You've got to do it in that order. Most people skip from research to providing solutions, and that's where the problem lies. And so again, it's slow. It's growth that has value. A tree with deep roots took a long time to build those roots. Have anybody ever taken out a tree stump out of their yard? It is not the easiest thing in the world to do. You can't just pluck the tree out like it's a flower. And if you do, it hadn't had time to set its roots yet. Same thing with the relationship. If someone comes along to your referral partner, your doctor office, your church, etc., and they take the relationship from you, it's either because you took no time to nurture the relationship, or you haven't had enough time of nurturing and protecting the relationship to let the roots dig deep enough. And so it's deep roots marketing, not grassroots marketing. Whoever come up with grassroots marketing doesn't understand how deep roots for grass go. Deep, but perceptionally, if you look at the ratio of how tall the grass is to how deep the roots go, that's where the concept comes. But deep roots market, grass doesn't produce a crop. No one's eating grass except for cows. Okay, so I don't understand the grassroots marketing thing. You want to plant producing trees, fruit, stuff that bears fruit. A perennial. Everybody know what a perennial is versus an annual? Most agents end up spend their time doing annuals, or they got to reestablish new relationships every single year. They come, they go, blah, 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 blah. The agents that have long-standing value and aren't relying on their upline, aren't relying on the environment, aren't relying on anything else but their own production, those folks have understood the cycle of a perennial. And a perennial relationship is one that produces and bears fruit year after year after year. So you start with the research phase. What's in the 5-mile radius? And if you already own the 5 mile, then you just in rings like a bullseye, take it out to 10 miles, then 20 miles, and then 30 miles. And once you own the 30-mile radius, especially if you're at a major metro market or close, like if you don't even need to own the 30-mile radius to be productive. There's plenty of agents I've worked with that only own their little hometown circle, and they're just fine in that. And so what can you do? What kind of questions would I ask? Well, number one, research comes with finding out what do they know about what do they know. Are you aware that there's a point of pain? Are you aware that, so go to the pharmacies, go to your local pharmacies and or the regional chain ones. Like, even if there's a relationship they have with an agent, if you're the one doing the educating, you could easily steal the thunder and the opportunity. And so I would go around to pharmacies and talk about points of pain from people that have low income subsidy and or new coverages and or lazy agents that didn't check to see if all their drugs are on the formulary again. The deductibles reset. People don't understand deductibles. And so a constant educational campaign can often be the easiest way to plant the seed to start getting opportunities. And what you want to do is train people to listen for points of pain. My prescription's not covered. My prescription's cost went up or too much. My doctor's not covered. I used to have this benefit, but I don't anymore. Dental's a big one on that, right? Dental benefits for a lot of companies and plans change from year to year. And most lazy agents relied on the annual notice of change to do the education on that part. And frankly, most of your clients didn't read that thing. And even if they did, they didn't understand it. And we have to understand the annual notice of change only lists the changes. And so if it's not standard operating procedure for you to make sure that the summary of benefits and evidence of coverage year after year after year, even for those clients that didn't make a change, you should be getting those things in the hands of those folks. That's what opens up the door, the research, the educate part, okay? Those two phases of the research, educate, add value, provide solutions model, those are the most important. And then once the opportunity comes, oh, my neighbor Judy, I was talking to her and blah, blah, blah. And she was talking about her prescriptions. And so I had her call you. I got your name from blank. And this is the start. When you get a referral, start off with, okay, what's going on? What can I just a simple question like, what can I help you with today? And just shut up and listen. They're gonna now give you the point of whatever point of pain that has occurred that created the opportunity for you to talk to them. And so the campaign I would go on, number one, is getting back to the basics on nurturing the relationships with the clients I already have. Same thing with referral partners. This is a wonderful time of year to take them to lunch, to just stop by and drop off a gift bag or basket to the gatekeeper. Like if you don't think that the gatekeepers feel overworked and underpaid and underappreciated, you're nuts. And you can go a long way in developing a relationship simply by showing a little bit of care to those folks. And you get opportunities. Like I get more referrals from the gatekeepers of the locations that I work and have relationships with than I do the actual decision maker. And I want to say that one more time. I get more referrals from the gatekeepers than I do the decision makers. And most agents are being trained to go after the decision maker. The decision maker is the only opportunity to get from them is the opportunity to present en masse to the group. But if you're looking for the one at a times, the gatekeepers are the key. There's a reason why they're a gatekeeper. And there's a reason why once you develop that relationship, that the other parts of the relationship come very easy. Like if you want to get into a financial advisor's office, get the gatekeeper to be your friend because they will endorse you to the decision maker. That's their job, is to help filter. What do you think a gatekeeper's job is? So we start with the educational research, educate. So research, what are the changes? Educate, what are the changes? Now that we plant the seed of, okay, if this comes up, then I'm the answer person. So when you start getting those opportunities, now it's about adding value and then providing the solution. But at the end of the day, you should be the solution. So if you're looking for a way to grow, get more referrals, get more opportunity. And again, the reason I like referrals are twofold. One, they don't cost anything other than time, energy, and effort to develop and grow and get those. Two, for most agents I talk to, if you're new and or newer, or if you're early in the first 2-3 years of your career, it's not a situation where they're living like fat cats with tons of cash and money to buy leads and other things. And so that's where the transition occurs is you have two types of equity you can spend on growing your business: sweat equity, which is effort, time, energy, and equity, like money, cash, credit. Credit. Some people mistake credit for not a tool that you can use. And some people will have tons and tons of lines of credit and credit cards and all these things, but don't use them out of fear of what? Out of fear of they're lowering their credit score or whatever. You're gonna have to spend at some point time, money, or effort, or both, in order to invest into your business for an opportunity to have a return on the investment. Again, you can't have a return if you don't have an investment. There is no such thing as a return on investment without the investment part. And again, so you got to provide something of value out to get something of value in. And that's a critical part of the whole game of the research, educate, add value, provide solutions, 4-step process that I train on and I live by. Like, this isn't something that I say, do this and try this, and I've never done it. Like, literally, I've tested all this stuff out thoroughly. The results bear fruit every single time. And so that's number one. Number two, research, educate, add value, provide solutions on anyone and anyone that will let you. And so last week, as an example, I went out and nurtured one of the relationships I had built, but I haven't maintained lately. It's really easy to start the relationship maintenance back up again. Show up, communicate, provide the value. Again, sometimes the value is just you and your relationship and you care. And so I would start there. Number one, nurture the relationships you already got. Number two, buy leads somehow, some way. Whether you're happy with where you're at or not, if you're wanting to grow, you're going to need to get into new pockets of people. And the easiest way to do that is to find a way to generate high quality, high intent opportunities. And what I would say is leads in general are dead. Like the average lead, the problem now becomes getting them on the phone. Whether you generate them on a Facebook form or you do a direct mail piece or whatever you're doing to generate the lead, The problem becomes getting a hold of them now. And that is a time consumptive, mentally draining activity. And so the game now is not to generate a lead, but generate an inbound customer initiated, not a live transfer, BS fake customer initiated, inbound call, inbound email, inbound text, or getting them face to face with you, whether they walk in the front door of your office or you're in front of them in some kind of educational capacity, doing a webinar, a seminar, any kind of okay, some kind of educational thing. And so schedule those. Typically, they take a little bit of time, depending on the thing that you're doing, to either build up momentum to fill the seats or to fill the room. Okay, and so again, start with your current book of business, add in opportunities, and decide how am I going to generate inbound traffic, not leads. Leads are very expensive. Leads are impossible to work. All of the above. Okay. The third phase that I would work on is if you're not planning now, what in the heck you're going to be doing on April 1st. It's a lot like AEP. It'll be here before you know it. And if you're not preparing for it now, you're going to have to build momentum then. Like basically you're riding a bike and you can see the hill. There's a hill ahead. It's 2 miles in front of you. Maybe it's going to take a little while. It seems like, oh, it's so far. But if you don't start planning to build momentum on your bike before you get to the hill is going to be 10 times harder. You're going to end up getting off the bike and walking, and you won't be able to gain momentum until it's too late. And so if you think of a big hill like that on a bike, start pedaling. What do? You start pedaling faster while it's easy on the flat land, AKA OEP is ripe for opportunity. So this is where you get momentum is right now, and you have opportunity. This is the flat land. This is the downhill where you can get some momentum that when you get that hill of where, for those of you who haven't been in the business long enough, like from April 1st to October 1st, and for most average agents who aren't building an agency all the way to January 1st is where the revenue starts dipping, because every single app that you're writing that's a plan change, which is what most people generate leads for, plan changers. It's the easiest group to fish for. But you guess you follow me on that. That's where the problem momentum lies, and where most people are riding these waves and not wondering why they can't get momentum. Wondering why I add 10 clients and I lose 5. You guys, that is the hard way to do business. You should be adding 10 clients and then getting 20 referrals. That's where the magic sauce comes in. And you should not be relying on referral partners. Too many people train on how to get referral partners. You guys, referral partners are immensely difficult to build and develop. Like, you can go out and get them. Everybody is fun and nice for the first initial conversation. You'll go home thinking you had a bunch of productivity today because you had 10 people that talked to you, until you start bearing fruit, until you start actually getting, hey, I got your name from so-and-so at the office for the place that you tried to go into. And I know I still use this for the phone. Sorry, I'm old school like that. But again, so the transition of key momentum building and or momentum gain comes from the ability to look down the road far enough to understand, where do I take advantage of the flat land? Where do I take advantage of the downhill portions? And AEP into OEP is the biggest downhill portion of the year that you have. Most people end up spending half that time either retaining what they got, doing nothing, taking vacation, or only working a portion of that, when it really is the year-round opportunity. And what am I going to start doing? How am I going to fill my calendar on April 1st? Filling your calendar right now is really easy. Just get out of the lazy mode, analyze your calendar, fill the gaps with blocked schedules of your time of money-making activities. Force yourself to do what's on the calendar. That's the whole idea behind the time block. If you put on there, go out in the community and find 5 doctor offices to partner with, and you don't do it, it's impossible to build momentum. So those are the 3 things that I would do. Work my current client base. We've worked my current referral partnerships, start buying leads and activity that puts me in a position that when I get to April 1st, and again, for me, the easiest low-lying fruit for that is the T65 market. But if you don't have a ton of money to throw at something like that, you're going to need a ton of residual effort and sweat equity is what my mentor used to call it. So again, I'm not going to sit here and chat all night. But do me a favor, if you got some value out of this, say something in the comments that helps me get momentum. I want to help agents, if you can't tell. And I think I didn't charge no one for the 30 minutes of my time I just threw out there, but I promise you the value that's going to compound if you just start implementing the strategies I'm giving. It's going to turn into something big for you. And you'll thank me later, I think, is the cliche. But thanks for tuning in. If you did, hopefully you do next time. If you didn't, if you're watching this video in the back, and again, you can help me by sharing, liking, commenting the video. That helps me get out, because I've changed what I'm talking about, and it's been stupidly bad on the numbers for watches and stuff. It's crazy. It blows my mind. I could sit here and talk about negativity, and then the people aligning and dancing with the devil will reward that way more so if I talk about God, and I talk about productivity, I talk about mindset, I talk about actual tangible things that help people. The views go down. And I encourage you to try this sometime because you'll see it for yourself. But I don't care. I'm not going to be deterred. I'd rather talk to one person at a time that actually has morals, ethics, and values and aligns with me and God and life. And I help that one person, than help 100 people that are going to take my information and use it for negativity or dancing with the devil, etc. So thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you got some value. I'm going to keep trying to log in. I have a Wednesday training at 3 p.m. Mountain every single Wednesday for at least till the end of AEP. No cost, no charge. All you have to do is find the freaking link, register, because it's a Zoom link, and I'm not just going to let any buffoon in. I'm just not. But if you align, if you want to be part of what I'm doing it for no cost other than your time, energy, and effort. And all I ask in return is that you participate, the camera on, and when I call on you in the meetings and the trainings, that you participate and answer questions. That's it. Very simple, but you wouldn't believe how many people that eliminates, which is fine. Again, I would rather talk to one person who gets the value and actually changes what they're doing to provide a better experience for the client, because our job is at risk if you don't stop just taking it easy. We have to take this job seriously. I take it very seriously. The impact we have on people on a daily basis is immensely important. It's important. These folks out there, the average person on Medicare has no one and no understanding of how this works. And it's the easiest thing to do if you just care a little bit. You just take a little bit of initiative and you nurture and build relationships. And so thanks for tuning in. I will see you hopefully on Wednesday and or the next live. Again, like, share, comment. Help me build this momentum. If there's people that you think should know about the Medicare Machine Factory and my page, let me know. Let them know. Share the page. Invite them to join, etc. And yeah, one day, one person at a time. Let's change this industry together. Have a wonderful night. I will see y'all on the next live training, workshop, boot camp, etc. See you later.